Raw, connected, and thrilling. Those are the words that are usually used when describing this, the 2024 Yamaha YXZ. Hey everybody, and welcome to TK Power Sports. In today's video, we're going to take this latest version of the YXZ that now has an auto shift transmission, run it on the trails, and find out if those descriptions still apply. So folks, we're going to do a walk around. We had to start on this knob right here because that is one of the biggest changes for 2024. There is now a 6-speed transmission here in the YXZ, and it has a full automatic setting. So you can set it to auto, sport auto, or sport shift. So sport shift, SS, means you have to use the paddles. It goes back to being a manual machine. Sport auto is just a more aggressive setting for the transmission, so it's going to hold those gears and really get you up in RPM. And then auto is more your cruising setting where the shifts won't come at, yes, such a crazy high RPM. That is a massive change for the YXZ for this model year. Up until now, you had to shift using these paddles. And honestly, I do think this is going to open this machine up to a wider range of customers. Quite frankly, whether you think it's thrilling or not, some people just don't want to worry about shifting. So now they have that auto setting. The one other big change for 2024 is the addition of more power. So you now have up to 1,000 watts of accessory power, which you didn't have before. Previously, it was just over 400. So it's more than doubled. So if you do want to run lights and whips and radios and what else you're going to plug in, you can now do that here too. So those are the big things for 2024. Now we'll go over the rest of the machine, which essentially has not changed. The model we're looking at in this video is the Yamaha YXZ 1000R SS EPS, or as we pronounce it here in Ontario, it is the Yamaha YXZ. So now let's get into the details because those are the same on both sides of the border. So right up front, 29-inch Maxxis tires. Behind them, a set of Fox 2.5-inch podium shocks, which do have remote reservoirs. And one great feature is you have individual control for slow speed compression and high speed compression right up here on the shocks. So yes, it is functional that the shocks kind of pop through the hood, but it also makes it really convenient because the settings are right up here, nice and exposed. You're not crawling down, getting your hand up into any mud or anything like that. So as we roll back, we do have a nice set of mirrors here on our YXZ today. I love having mirrors on a side-by-side. I think it's necessary, especially for trail riding. If you're out with your friends, those things just make you that much safer and make it easier to keep track of everybody. So we get around the back, and here is the crown jewel of the YXZ. That is a 998cc triple cylinder engine that makes just north of 100 horsepower. Again, I do like the access to it. You can see right there, you can get in quite easily, and it's just a beautiful power plant. Let's just be honest. It looks so cool hanging out the back of the YXZ. And you can see where it's positioned. It's fairly far back, but still in front of that rear axle. So you do get sort of that mid-engine weight distribution, which is cool. So around the very back, not a lot of storage on this machine. You're going to notice that in the interior as well. You get this little deck right here. This is rated for just 300 pounds. So sure, it's enough to bring a cooler, some tools, something like that. You do get D-rings here, so you are able to strap things down here. There's also some Yamaha accessories that you can buy to help you carry some stuff. But yes, if you buy a YXZ, don't expect to be bringing a ton of stuff with you. And if you're asking what's under this cover, I shall show you. It's the radiator. So that was relocated pretty quickly actually after the YXZ launched. Yamaha realized having the radiator in the front down low, it was getting damaged, it was getting plugged up. So they moved it back up here. The air intake is between the driver and the passenger, so air comes right through the cab and cools this thing down back here. Nice to have the high mount radiator. You don't have to worry about it. And also, again, the access with this cover here is quite good. Finally, as we roll around the side, I mentioned the suspension, but I didn't get the travel numbers out. So it's 16.2 inches of travel in the front and 17 inches of travel in the back. You can see how big that shock is. Those numbers are great. They have not changed for this year. So yes, there were some things Yamaha looked at, like the suspension, like the power plant, and they decided, we don't need to change those. They are good enough as is, but they did go for that transmission. So that'll be exciting to get out there and really feel how this new 6-speed operates. Alrighty folks, now the time has come. We're out here in an area today where we actually have a lot of sand, which is really fun, and then a forested area as well. And at this moment, I'm down here in the sand, and I'm gonna hit these big whoops straight in front of me to really feel this suspension. We've got it in automatic mode, in drive, here we go. And here's the whoops. Oh man, so first of all, you feel the suspension right away. It does a really nice job of soaking those things up. When you're expecting a hard hit, it's just simply not there. Now I will say, specifically when it comes to whoops, the short wheelbase on this machine really does come into play. It does get quite a bit of that front to back bucking. You can feel how it's really easy to kick the rear end up into the air. So there's an interesting trade-off here, and it always has to do with wheelbase. If this thing had a longer wheelbase, say 100 inches, even 110, these whoops would be a lot smoother. The problem is, you go to that long wheelbase and you lose that sharp cornering. Suddenly you can't go around corners nearly as tight, and when you're up here in the woods, that really matters. And that's really what the YXZ is going for. It's not meant to be sort of a whoop-eating desert machine. I think it's much more meant for tight trails like this, because when you do throw it into a tight corner, it responds immediately. And that's what you want. You want that tight feeling steering, and that's what's here. So yes, the handling, a lot of it is dictated sort of by the wheelbase, but I think Yamaha kept it small to keep that tight feeling. Now when it comes to the power steering, Yamaha is not a brand to offer you different settings such as Can-Am, where you can actually change the weighting of your steering wheel. And here in the YXZ, it's a decent blend of sort of weight with overboosted power steering. I don't know, to me it's maybe a little bit on the light side, just a little bit, in a machine that again kind of always falls back on being connected and direct. You want a heavier steering wheel, and this could just be a hair heavier for my liking. That being said though, because that is totally a personal preference, the handling never feels sloppy. You never don't know where the wheels are or what the machine is doing. One of the best words I can use for the YXZ is communicative. You feel everything, and it lets you know as the driver exactly what is going on underneath you, and that's what lends to that connected, sort of raw feeling. The other thing that certainly feels and sounds raw is the power plants. This has to be one of the best sounding sport side-by-sides on the market. This triple cylinder, yeah, it just sounds so aggressive. And don't forget, Redline is over 10,000 RPM, so you can really ring this thing out. And when it's just screaming along at 10,000 RPM, it sounds so good. So right now, I am just sort of cruising around, not going too crazy, and I do have it just in regular auto mode. So let's talk about the automatic shifting here. The first thing I want to say is that the shifts are still incredibly quick. That was always one of the hallmarks of the YXZ. You tap that paddle and the shift, boom, is right there for you. Well, that hasn't changed with the automatic setting. The shifts are still incredibly quick, and therefore, when you need the power and you got to hit that downshift, you get it right away. So I love the feeling of the transmission and just the way it shifts gears. Now in auto, yeah, it's not that aggressive. It's shifting fairly low. I've noticed between 5,000 and 6,000 RPM, sometimes even a little lower, it will upshift. So it's not even sort of halfway through the RPM band. But if you're doing this, just tooling through the woods, I'm in third right now, I'm doing 30 kilometers an hour. That's all you need. You need a transmission that's just gonna be nice and calm for you and shift early so that if you are riding with someone, hey, you can even have a conversation because the RPMs aren't always, screaming in your ear. So the auto setting, I think, is tuned correctly if you're just looking to have a nice relaxed drive. And then of course you can do it this and go over into sport auto. Now the big difference here, as any sport mode will do, it's gonna hold those RPMs and it's gonna downshift more aggressively. So see there's 6, 7,000. That shifted close to 7,000 going from third to fourth. And it will also sort of read how you're driving it. Ooh, there's an aggressive downshift too. See, it just slammed itself back into third. Nice, and it was keeping me right at 6,500 RPM in third gear. So you notice the difference immediately. Sport auto is just keeping the revs up. It's keeping the power available at all times, which, yeah, in any sport mode, that is what you want. One other important aspect of the automatic setting on the transmission, you can always grab the paddles. So it doesn't matter if you're an auto or sport auto, you want to downshift, go ahead and grab the downshift. You want to upshift, go ahead and grab it. And then if you just stop using the paddles, it just right away goes back into being fully automatic. So that is pretty cool too. You always have the choice of shifting those gears yourself, or if you don't want to, just set it and forget it. One other feature I have to mention with the YXZ is launch control. So you hold down both the paddles, you go foot on the brake and the gas, you lift off the brake, you rev it up to between 5 and 10,000 RPM, and then you release the paddles, and the thing absolutely takes off. Now what's really interesting, I tried to do launch control on the sand because I was curious to see how it works. And you can see here from this slow motion shot, the traction control really does a nice job at feeling the slip and then adjusting, because what it's trying to do is launch as quickly as possible. It doesn't want to just sit there spinning in the sand. So with the slow motion, you can really see how this thing works. And we did launches in both 4-wheel and 2-wheel drive, and doesn't matter what you do, the Yamaha does its absolute best to make sure you get the best traction so you can just take off. Now another thing I mentioned already we had today was sand. I've been riding a ton in the sand, and of course this is a whole different ball game when it comes to power delivery and how much power and torque you need, because you just need more. You just feel like you're putting your foot further into the pedal than you normally would to get those speeds, because the sand simply kind of saps, I should say, a lot of your power. So with that in mind, I also have appreciated the YXZ's extra gear, because they didn't add 6 gears to make the YXZ better on the top end. They didn't add it to give it more top speed. They added it because first gear in 2024 is 40% lower than it used to be. A lot of people would complain with the YXZ that if you're in slow speed situations, the machine wouldn't like to crawl. It always wants to sort of bog down. That is not the case anymore, and I can prove it right now. Let's test it. I've got it over in diff lock mode. That's my front diff lock, now locked up. The rear here is essentially always locked. And I've got it in sport shift, which means it's gonna lock me in first. Let's try some slow speed crawling up this sandy wash. Nice, so I mean, that was sandy. I had to carry just a hair of momentum going up there. But yeah, no problems with the power. Revved up to about 4,000 RPM, and it felt like it would have climbed up a hill that steep all day long. Now I don't have any sort of big rocks, kind of Moab style rock crawling to do here today, and that's the area where I really think you'd feel the benefit. But having that lower first gear makes this machine, again, more applicable in more situations. It's not just a high-speed runner through the forest now. You can do more of that slow-speed crawling and picking, and it's going to do a really good job at it. And that's what, honestly, these enhancements for 2024 really seem like. Yamaha looked at the YXZ and they said, it's good as it is. It offers the thrill, it offers the performance that we want. However, it could offer it to more people because every one of us who ride, we live in different areas. Some people are always in the sand. Some people are never in the sand. Some people are always in the rocks. Some people are never in the rocks. So adding this transmission with the automatic means that if you don't want to shift, you don't have to. I totally support that. I appreciate that they allow us to still shift. They kept the paddles. It's not like they just got rid of them. But this opens the machine up to more people. So it's an interesting sort of idea that Yamaha went with rather than a full redesign. Frankly, the YXZ is old enough that sure, they could have come out with the full second generation. They did not do that, at least for now. They decided to just make it more mainstream as it is. Let me talk about the interior a little bit now and the ergonomics. First of all, we do have two of us in here today. That's cameraman Liam, and we got no problem. We're not elbows into each other whatsoever. So yes, for two full-size adults, no issue with space. I notice on the passenger side, there's a nice dead pedal down there so Liam can rest his foot on that. It's especially important for the passenger, but I have one too for the driver. I love having that dead pedal. It allows you to brace yourself without working your arms too much. You can hold your body in place just by really pressing down with your foot and pushing your sort of torso back into the seat. So I appreciate that. Now the seating position here is fairly aggressive. You sit kind of low in the machine, and then you're not raked back too far, but definitely much more raked back than kind of a traditional utility machine. And that's what you want. It has that sporty, aggressive feel to it. A great steering wheel, really nice indents for my thumbs, feels really natural in my hands. So ergonomically, yeah, I really don't have any problems. I love the mirrors here. You know what, you can add these to any side-by-side. I recommend you do it. Me personally, I just love having a nice set of mirrors. I think you're safer on the trail because of it. And then when it comes to the controls, yeah, everything's right in my hand, easy to grab. Still got the parking brake, no problem getting to the knob. And then they do give us 4 blank switch spots up here in the dash. So if you were to add your own lights or something, you can get to those switches. Really, the big complaint on this interior is just storage. Besides the glove box over here in front of Liam, I can crack that open for you. I got my hat in there. That's it, man, just the glove box. Outside of that, you're not getting any other storage down here in the center, in the doors. The little deck on the back is okay. That is one area where, yeah, maybe Yamaha could have given us a little bit more, a larger glove box. Like I said, something underneath this whole center console here for storage, but they didn't do that. And sure, you can argue it's a pure sport machine. What are you hauling around? Well, you always have some stuff with you. And then the most important point is, yeah, the competitors have more storage on the interior. So that's definitely a negative on the YXZ. So let's revisit the points I made off the top. Is the YXZ still raw and connected and thrilling? Yes, it absolutely is. The combination of this transmission, the way it just bangs off the shifts, the sharp power delivery, and then the crisp handling, it's definitely one of the most exciting machines on the market to drive. Now the next question, does it really compete with everything else that's out there? The answer, to me anyways, is yes and no. From a straight fun factor, from a straight feel factor, the YXZ absolutely delivers. I don't think anyone will buy this and be disappointed. The reason I did say no though, and this is typical Yamaha, Polaris and Can-Am have just pushed further. They've pushed further with horsepower, offering turbochargers, more suspension travel. Those brands, yeah, that's kind of their MO. They like to push each other and always be one-upping one another. Here at Yamaha, they seem content with what they have, and they don't seem in a rush to try and catch up to some of those crazy top-end models. Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, what I'm saying is for outright performance, some of the other brands might be better, but if we're just talking about how fun, how exciting, how thrilling a side-by-side is, the YXZ is absolutely still one of the best options on the market. Well, folks, we've come to the end of this video. Now, I do have to let you know, of course, what this thing costs, and this is not the most expensive YXZ in the lineup. So if you go for this model as you see it, you're gonna be paying just under $22,000 in the United States and just over $27,000 here in Canada. So folks, I think there can be an argument made that Yamaha should fully update this YXZ, but if you're not sort of looking over the fence at what everyone else has, and you're just concerned with buying a UTV with a good reputation for reliability, but then more importantly, a reputation for being exciting, thrilling, connected, and fun, well, don't look any further than the YXZ, because it is still all of those things. And you know what? That's it for this one. Now, of course, I need to hear what you think. Go below into the comments. Let me know your thoughts on this updated 2024 YXZ. While you are down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of TK Power Sports, and then come back here to the channel to see what we're testing next. And if you'll excuse me, I got lots more riding to do. See ya.